welcome to the Not So Perfect Couple podcast.
Hooray.
First ever from 3 different states.
Oh, yeah. So this is the first podcast where Paddy and I are not together. I'm in Kanab, Utah, a little tiny town in middle of nowhere. Paddy, you're in...
I'm still in Tennessee, yeah. I didn't know you wanted me to answer that.
It looks like you're trying to work while we're doing this call.
No, I'm going to do that. I was just catching up on my porn.
Getting all...
We are in different states, so...
Getting all fired up for the podcast.
That's right.
And Cassie and Lindon, you guys are in California, right? San Clemente.
That's right.
That's right.
This is like a global podcast now, nationwide at least, right? You guys have just covered all the bases.
We're spread out for sure.
When our listener tunes in, we'll be in 4 states.
Very funny. Well, let's dive right in. Like, tell us a little bit. I mean, we'll do a little bit of an intro, of you guys when we forgot to tell you that before we started. So Justin will have to cut this part out, but we'll do an intro beforehand. So I guess, like, let's talk about how you met and like how long you've been together and just like a little background.
The love story.
So
The love story.
I tend to be verbose, so you can jump in at any time and tell me to shut up if you like. So I'll just throw that out there right away. So Lindon and I met working for the same company. We work for a company called Productive Learning, and this company does facilitated self-inquiry. And I was working in the Northern California office. He was working in the Southern California office. And we were in a training together. We would see each other every month. And at that time, I was dating somebody, he was dating somebody. We were just really good friends. In fact, the first moment I ever met him, I looked at him and I was like, he's going to be my friend forever. Like this is going to be a tight friendship.
I thought, oh shit, she is hot.
Oh, that's so cute.
I did not think that. But it would be interesting because as he and I got closer in our friendship, I would think, oh man, I hope he marries somebody really badass because we're going to be like having barbecues together and our kids are going to play together. And like, so I hope that his wife is really cool because like, this is going to be, we're going to be friends forever kind of a thing. And then eventually we landed in a workshop together called Current Communications. And this workshop is all about what we say and what we don't say and why, like how we're constructing our reality, because we're sharing very deliberately and not sharing very deliberately. And that's constructing our world. And in the conversation, somebody brought up something about sharing your feelings, and Cassie 1.0 at the time was like, why would you share your feelings?
Cassie 1.0.
That sounds like a mistake. I don't want to do that. And so I raised my hand and I said, and I was thinking about a man in the workshop who at the time drove me nuts, kind of made my skin crawl. I didn't really want to be around him. And I thought, why would I share my feelings with that guy? Like, why would I do that? So I raised my hand. I asked the question, why would I share my feelings if there's nothing to do about it? There's nothing to do about the way I feel. Why would I share it? And the trainer in the workshop, who happens to now be my father-in-law, Lyndon's dad.
He's better and better.
Yeah. I had just broken up with my boyfriend, and he said, you want to be in a relationship, right? He said, how's anybody going to get to know you if you don't share how you feel? And I thought, oh, okay. Yeah, I should, that makes sense.
Point.
Fair point. And then he goes, and you're training to be a trainer, right? You want to work for me? You want to work in this company? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And he goes, okay, then do you want the real answer that's really going to call you to the carpet? And I'm like, absolutely. Bring it on, dude. And he says, how arrogant of you to think that there's nothing to do about it. You've never shared it with anybody. You think you know everything? I was like,
whoa.
This is like in front of other clients and the whole thing, like called you to the carpet. I was in the workshop too, sitting.
Yeah, he's sitting next to me in the workshop.
She just got owned.
She just got the smack down.
And my jaw drops, and I'm like, oh yeah, How do I know? And in my kind of challenger self, I go, okay, fine. I'm going to tell 2 people how I feel about them by the end of the day. He goes, what? His desk. What? Like, yeah, we have a break coming up. I'm going to let 2 people know how I feel about them by the end of the day. He goes, okay, right on. And so first I pull the one guy aside and I tell him that he makes the skin crawl. And that was life-changing, because as I was having this conversation with him, he told me all this stuff about himself and why that influences his behavior the way it does. And all of a sudden I'm in tears. I'm like, I had no idea. We're hugging. I love this guy. Like, whole unravel of, oh, I thought you were just an asshole. Like, no, you have a whole life that I have no idea about, that I've made up this story about. And now that I see you, you're amazing, you know? And we had this really emotional connection. It was very freeing. And right after that, I go sit Lindon down, because I'm going to tell Lindon that I love him. But in my head at the time, it was like, just like I love these shoes, and I love walking on the beach, and I love this meal, you know, and I love Lindon. It had that same emotional quality. You know, I love the color green, and I love Lindon, and you know, and so I take and we're, by the way, just to set the scene, we're in Hawaii. Okay. I'm taking to a balcony. Waves are crashing against the rocks right here. You know, we're looking out over the ocean.
The scent of hibiscus is floating through the air.
Yeah. And all of a sudden I get tunnel vision. Like, I'm about to pass out. And I thought, oh my gosh, 2 things crossed my mind. I have food poisoning. I must have eaten something terrible. Or 2, I'm like coming off of the conversation I just had with the other guy, because that was so poignant. Like, I am not grounded. And I kind of hold on to the table, and he's sitting across the table from me, and I go, okay, this is a communication. It's not a conversation. I don't really want to hear what you have to say. I have something to say. If you want to tell me something, you can do it later, but I'm not feeling very good right now. So just hear me out, and we'll get back into the workshop, because we had like 3 minutes until the class started again, right? And he goes, okay. And he kind of looks at me like, is this going to be good? I don't know.
This is getting weird.
Yeah.
It's getting weird.
And I go, just don't worry about it. Here it comes. Okay. So I love you, but I don't love you like a brother, because I have one of those. And I don't love you like a friend, because I have guy friends. It's not like that. I love you. I don't love you like a boyfriend, because I've had those. So I guess I love you unlike I've loved any other man. And like dawns on me in that moment. And I go, oh my God, okay, bye. And I get up and like, and he says, wait, what? And I go, no. I have to, I don't know what just happened. I'm an external processor. I have to go figure that out. Bye. And he goes, no, wait, I have to say something. And I go,
yeah, like, what am I going to do? Just sit there and like have her say that and then walk away? So.
Yeah, he goes, I got to say something. And I go, I can't hear you. I'm losing myself. I can't hear you. He goes, no, I got to say something. And I go, okay. And I sit back in the chair, and I kind of hold on to the chair, like bracing myself. Because at that moment I was thinking, he's going to tell me this is inappropriate. We work together. How could you do this? We're friends, blah, blah. Like, that's what I was anticipating hearing back.
So what did you say, Lindon?
Yeah. Tell the exact words.
I said, this is fucking awesome. And then I think you kind of like,
and I was like,
still couldn't register.
Huh? He goes, that's fucking cool. I'm
and
like,
then,
oh, okay. And I stand up to leave. Like, that's it, I'm going. And I begin to walk back into the workshop room, because now the workshop is starting. And he goes, well, are we going to hug? And I go, hug? Okay. And I gave him one of those butt out hugs, you know, where you're like leaning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My sister does that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's like,
let me get my body.
Yeah. We're not going to really touch. Maybe we're just going to, yeah. I hate that kind of hug.
And he's trying to hold me, and I'm like, And we walk back in, We sit down in the workshop. He and I are sitting next to each other on a couch in a condo, right? And I'm painfully aware of how close his knee is to mine, you know? And his dad gets the workshop started and he goes, "Hey, Cassie, did you have your conversations? How'd it go?" I went, "Great." He goes, "Do you want to share anything?" I went, "Nope." He goes, "Okay." And then he gets the workshop started. After the workshop, my persona comes back up, right? So I'm like, "I've got this. I know how I'm going to handle this." And we're hanging out in the kitchen afterwards, and his dad, who's also named Lindon, says, "So I didn't press you in the workshop, but I'm very interested. How did these conversations go?" And I said, "Oh, well, I told so-and-so that he drives me nuts, and that went really great, and this is what happened, and he told me all this stuff about himself, and now I understand, and da-da-da." He's like, "Oh, that's awesome. See, we don't know until we share, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, what was the other conversation?" I was like, "Oh, I told Lyndon I loved him. No big deal." He's like, wait. What? And I went, "Yeah, I told him that I loved him, unlike any other man. It doesn't really mean anything, because I'm never going to date your son or anything, so."
See, I told him I loved him like a spot previously only set aside for the color green.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. and then it turned out to be a little bit more than that, but it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. And he goes, "Well, this sounds like a big deal." And I went, "No, it's definitely not. It doesn't matter. I'm so much older than him. This isn't going to work out, and I'll work it out. It just doesn't mean anything." And then we flirted ruthlessly for the rest of the week that we were there.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And then when we got home, he called me and he said, so I have my side of that communication. You said that you wanted me to tell you later. Here's my side. I said, "Okay." He goes, "I love you." And I went, "Oh." And he goes, "No, I love you. I want to be with you. I think we should date." And I go, "That's ridiculous. We're never gonna date." And he's like, "No, I think we're gonna date. We're absolutely gonna date." And so it was just this back and forth. I tried to do everything to sabotage it. He would say things to me like, "Oh, well, when you come down for the next staff meeting, let's go out to dinner afterwards." And I was like, "Oh, sure, we go out together for dinner all the time." He's like, No, we're gonna go on a date." And I'm like, "No, I have plans." And I would make plans, and then he would call me and say, "Stop making plans, cancel your plans. You're going on a date with me."
I think I actually called the other people and told them that.
Yeah, you did. You called. Yeah.
I date with her, so sorry. Yes, sir. We can think on those plans.
Yeah.
The end around. Lyndon did the end around.
Yeah.
So how long? So this is all at one retreat.
So
was-
that communication happened at the retreat.
The first communication on the first retreat, the week after, which was after that retreat, was when I made my communication. That was July.
It was in July.
July.
Okay.
No, August.
August.
Yeah, when I came down for the staff meeting in your triathlon.
Oh, August we went on our first date. September we went to the Dave Matthews Band concert in Washington.
That's a slam dunk.
Vacation.
That's an easy.
Where I then said, "Will you be my girlfriend?"
Yeah.
And then December 31st that year. So from the first time that she said, "I love you," till December 31st is when I proposed.
And so when did you very first meet again? The date? Where was the retreat in Hawaii?
Yeah. The first
No, they'd
retreat
met before that, right?
Yeah, we met.
We had been
They'd been working together.
Okay.
About a year, but she had a boyfriend.
Okay. I'm slow sometimes.
That's okay. I talk really fast.
Paddy,
too,
my
so
name's
I'm not-
Lindon.
So Lyndon,
Oh my God, that was awesome.
how so the facilitative self-inquiry thing is like it's your own company now, but before it started out like your dad was the one doing the retreats and that kind of thing. Is that who was training you all?
Yeah, so the company Productive Learning started in '92 with a handful of senior trainers. My dad founded it with his then business partner Rick Itzkowicz, and then built up the company. And then Cassie and I both came on in 2000. Cassie had been taking workshops from them just as a client starting 2008 or so, 7, 8,
Yeah,
something like that.
8.
I was studying psychology and religious studies, and then I went and lived down in Ecuador during that time. And in 2010 I started, and you actually started.
And then I started working for the company in 2010
as well. So we both started in 2010. And then I worked my way up and wanted to learn about the business and how the business ran. And then,
Okay. So you did want to learn about the business and how it ran. You weren't just there to pick up chicks.
No, that was haphazardly. Now we have all kinds of rules and policies for no dating within the business.
Not good.
After you two, the company probably has an HR department now, right?
Yeah. Shouting for the HR department, but nobody ever comes in and
Yeah. Awesome.
So tell us about the company a little bit more. I mean, we got a little flavor of it, but talk to us about, what is it called?
so it's called
Facilitative self-inquiry.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
good job,
facilitate
babe.
self-inquiry. Yeah. We
I wrote it
facilitate.
down.
Oh, good. Taking notes. I like that.
So essentially what we do is we bring people together in groups, and in these groups we have exercises, and all the exercises are meant to do is reflect you back to yourself and get an understanding of who you are, what you bring to any given situation. And the intention of that is that when you can see yourself clearly, you can make choices, because it's for all of us, without awareness, we're reacting unconsciously to the world around us with our preconceived notions, the things that we learned as children, beliefs and assumptions that we have about life and who we are and how the world should work. And those were not chosen. Those were conditioned into us as we were growing up. And so the point of coming in and taking one of our workshops is bringing that up to our awareness so that we have the ability to choose in any given moment how we want to respond to what's in front of us rather than react to what's happening. So that's essentially what we do.
Nice.
How does that, so I think that I'm always trying to do that. I don't know, Paddy, maybe you do a little bit of that. Do you?
What?
Try to figure out who you are and try to react instead of respond. I mean, try to respond instead of react.
Yeah. I don't know that I've actually really dug deep and tried to define who I am, though.
Yeah.
I pretty much just am.
I can imagine how having two partners that were really into that. I mean, like, how does that shake out in your relationship?
It's been evolving over the years since we've known each other. So especially at first, it was very rough. I would say for us.
It was
essentially,
like, I see what you did there. Are you seeing yourself the way it was like, it was almost like we were catching each other in our own drama, and which would only flare up the drama.
Right. As two trainers constantly processing each other. Why did you order a chicken burger instead of a beef regular burger? What do you think that has to mean about that? And where are you? And it's like you couldn't make choices and decisions without the other investigating and questioning. And at some points, it was super helpful for our own growth and also facilitation abilities, because we were processing and practicing and stumbling and messing up and all that kind of stuff. But at some point, it just became so much and all the time where it was you never turned off. We were never just a couple.
Yeah.
And we realized we got to that point and said, like, no, we're done. We have to pause on that. And so then we started to, because we didn't know how to still be, our profession is facilitators and husband wife, we didn't know how to make the line clear. So we had to create very strict boundaries of, like, if I have a question for you, this is how I'm going to have the question. I'm going to say these words. And if you don't say those words back in phrase B back to me, then we can't go into the conversation because you're in reaction or you're not hearing it. If you do respond saying, hey, I'd like to have a conversation about this, this, and this, and you respond with the right phrasing, then we get to go into the conversation. And we had to do that for some time, which just reset our guidelines for how do we have just a personal, intimate relationship, husband-wife relationship that's not business relationship or facilitator relationship, I should say. And then once we got better into our habits on that, the being strict about the guidelines of what the phrasing was or when we were allowed to have that really started to fade away because we were then much more natural. Like it's not appropriate time. They're not into, they don't want to look at themselves right now. They're still in reaction. They're still processing on their own, or I'll just directly ask them, hey, I want to have a conversation about this. I think there's some things to look at and insights to have. Are you open to it? And then there's a yes
Whatever
or no
the
answer.
is.
And being okay with,
Yeah.
you know, either.
We've worked together on several businesses and had to learn, you know, I think we learned too late for our kids because we'd bring our work home and we'd talk about it for hours and our kids would be like, oh, and never felt heard and stuff. So, but for each other, we finally got around it. I mean, Sam was really good at like, she's like, well, we got an hour before we got to be at work. Let's go take a shower. And, you know, and I'm like, great. And then in the shower, she'd start telling me about who I needed to fire at work and who was a piece of crap and everything else. And then I'm like, oh boy, I'm just about as far away from ever being turned on as possible.
Yeah, right, totally.
I feel super stressed out because I don't know we're going to fire somebody. Just forget about sex. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, we went through that iteration too. So the first iteration was just boyfriend, girlfriend. Then it was husband, wife, and facilitator, which is what we just co-facilitating, which is what we were just talking about each other. And then I became 50-50 partners with my dad and was having essentially the same kind of conversations you were just talking. Now
right.
She's her boss, which she's also the
I got a little problem with authority.
And she wanted to, you know, give her 2 cents and tidbits on everything that was happening in the business and where we should go. And we couldn't, we then had to create some boundaries and make sure we're safe and whatnot, when to have them. And I hear you. I'll take that information. I may do nothing with it, but thanks so much. So,
yeah. Well, I can tell you this: they're usually right when it comes to personnel. I mean, I don't know. Maybe more men are like me, or maybe they're not. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with sex at all. But for all the people that Sam told me I needed to fire a year before I ever got around to doing it, I should have done it, you know, when she told me to.
The insight that I have had is Cassie has always been right. And when it came out, or when whatever she wanted may have not been immediate, but it always eventually turned out that way. And I don't know how or why, but maybe it was a year later, but all of a sudden, whatever she was thinking that she wanted the business to go do or happen, it's all of a sudden happening. So I feel like she's like a fortune teller, soothsayer, just
puppet master.
Manifestation. She's the secret.
Just close my eyes and will it really strong.
Paddy is a very wise man. You should listen to this.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of work with just kind of by default and some intentional, but with appreciative inquiry. Are you familiar with that at all?
No, I don't think specifically, but when you mentioned it, I go, I can understand.
Yeah.
But tell me about it.
Oh, I don't want to get into that. I mean, I was just curious if you were familiar with that. It's what's the name of the guy? The guy we worked with several times is John Berghoff, but the guy that invented it in the 60s. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they're out of Ohio.
Oh, Ohio? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
I was thinking it might be the Hendricks out of Ohio. They do conscious loving and.
No, that's Harville Hendricks. Yeah, that's a totally different thing.
Oh, okay.
I think. Yeah, I know who you're talking about there. They're the ones that came up with Imago, right? Is that the Harville Hendricks?
Oh, I'm talking about Gay and Katie Hendricks.
Oh yeah, don't know them. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
There's also a guy named Jimmy
Hendricks.
Yeah, I heard of him.
Yeah.
I get his teachings.
Yeah, he was like he's one of my favorite jazz trumpet players.
Wow. Are you experienced?
So you guys, so not only was this like a kind of, well, I mean, anytime, regardless of whether you're working together or, I think too, the fact that you're both facilitators and like all that self-inquiry is so big, like that makes the relationship a little more complicated. We actually interviewed a couple of people. They're both psychologists. They're both named Kelly Flanagan. They're both named Dr. Kelly Flanagan. It was hilarious.
Wow.
But they kind of, you know, they were talking about psychologizing each other also.
Yes. Yes.
But not only that, but you guys that went through something very, very difficult. Do you want to talk about that as well? Because I think, it might be helpful for other people to hear and how you got through it. And
Sure. Yeah. And it is so essentially what you're talking about, Lindon and I lost our son, Bodhi, in 2017, in June of 2017. And since then we've had 3 miscarriages. And this is how do I explain it? This is something that we're still evolving through, and I'm grateful, so grateful for the 8 years of the work that we did before we lost our son, because that really guided us through that process and is continuing to guide us. And we're adding more understanding of ourselves and trauma and grief and how they're different, and loss. And then it's really kicked me into different spiritual practices and understanding different, ways of experiencing myself in a spiritual sense and our son in a spiritual sense. So it's just like, it's this ever evolving process. And so it's just a constant conversation for us. I mean, we're really,
yeah. To give some context so that
yeah,
listeners can understand. So Cassie was pregnant in 2017. And our first was due on June 1st. On May 31st, so the day before his due date, his heart stopped for unknown medical reasons. They did, we've done thousands of dollars and dozens of tests, and there is no known medical reason. They did it on Cassie, they did it on Bodhi. They still have no idea. So it's quite literally an anomaly. So his heart stopped. He had a full-term baby. She delivered. He is beautiful, but he never got to see the earth side. So that's what she's talking about when we say that we lost our son, and then since then also the 3 miscarriages thereafter, which for us, and especially for you, is what you've talked about, is the miscarriages thereafter were more painful, more devastating. I don't know if that would be the word, than losing our son. Our son, there was still almost something to have a relationship with. And then to go and take the shot again after you've taken a shot and failed, it takes a lot more willpower, a lot more juice, a lot more faith and hope for something to happen, and then to have it fail again, and then to try and then womp it all back up for a second time, and womp it all back up for a third time, and continue to get, smacked down essentially by it. So there's we get to have pictures of our son, because we have this wonderful lady come to the hospital where Cassie delivered him. So we have pictures of him, and we get to memorialize him, and we get to have Christmas ornaments with him on it and all that kind of stuff. And his grandma and grandpa talk about him, in whatever relationship that they have with him. And then we have these other ones that we don't, but we put in almost more energy into, because it was that much more scary to try again after losing Bodhi. And so as she's saying, it's continuously evolving, because it's not like it's done. And we are in the midst of, are we ready to try again? Because like I said, after the thousands of dollars of tests and dozens of tests, the doctors say, she is of the utmost health. Like, between normal, she is smack dab in the middle of everything, and my health, smack dab in the middle of everything. So go ahead and try is essentially the message. And we still have to deal with the emotional hurdle of saying, okay, here we go again. Are we ready to maybe have it and win and have the kid that we've been wanting for 3 or 4 years now? And what would that do also with the relationship that we have with our son Bodhi, as we have this now new kid in our life? And or if it doesn't work out for whatever reasons, what then happens with us and or with our, just belief in why are we here, and what's this all about, and why do we get tossed these hardships when it seems like we we've learned lessons. Can we move to the next phase, please? Like,
how many times do we have to learn this one?
right. Yeah.
But that seems to be the thing that, at least after the last miscarriage, it became very clear to me that I can't control what happens in life. Like, try as I might, nobody's voted me queen of the universe. So, okay.
I'd vote for you.
Thank you. One vote. We're good.
I want
Huh?
I want to be queen.
Right? Queen?
I vote for you.
I vote for you. Yeah.
Sorry, honey, I already spent my vote.
Yeah, right. Oh, you and me, Patty, it's the two of us. Yeah, I can't control what happens to me in my life. The only thing that I can do is understand me and what I bring to all the things that happen in my life. That's been my life for the last 12 years. And it feels like I'm understanding that at a deeper and deeper and deeper level. Like, where does my responsibility begin and end as far as these situations that are outside of my control unfold in my life? And so in this last, after this last miscarriage, this is almost a year ago now, we basically said, like I said, essentially, pause. I gotta get to the place where I am willing to have anything happen to me in my life, and I know I'm not there yet. And over the last like 6 months, even just the last month, we've really dove into allowing whatever happens, and that we're okay with whatever happens. So we'll see, like I say that now, and then we'll see what happens.
But I think it's so difficult, that learning to trust the universe or trust whatever's happening to you and surrender to it. And I'm constantly working on that too, just to allowing surrender to whatever the circumstances may be. Because I feel like peace is, if I can get to that, I feel like peace is right behind that wall. Yes. God damn, that's a thick wall.
Yeah, it is.
It's good. It takes some pressure off, I think. It's like, we keep telling myself, and I've got some family issues right now where I feel like I'm on auto, repeat right now with the words that I'm saying, but over and over again, I'm like, you don't have control over that. And no matter what happens, the day's going to go on. So we'll deal with that when it comes. Why build a bunch of stories of what if? So.
Yeah.
One of the things that when we got together and I proposed and we talked about getting married, was we set an intention that we want to create a truly extraordinary life, her and I. And one of the ways in which we want to do that is, no matter what the circumstance or what life throws at us, good, bad, ugly, does not matter. We will look at it in a way that says, what can we learn from this that we can continue to better ourselves? Mm-hmm. How can we use this to better? And it doesn't matter if it's logical about how do we save in finances versus how do we deal with life and death and family issues. We've always decided that whatever is presented to us, how can we take something away from that? And I think it does, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, is it does soften the edges on a lot of these things, because there's an assumption in there that I will take something from that, learn, develop myself, and then go play again and go move forward with it, as opposed to what I think a lot of people do. And I know that I could be prone to do this, is I could just say, oh yeah, shit hit the fan. Oh, well,
crawl in a hole
and just back to the
lick my wounds for a little while and then come out and do it again.
Yeah. Just back to the humming along of repetition. And then it has like oh man, if I could assume, or you could probably see, like, once you did that a handful of times, boy, what, like, then you're asking like the why, what is this all for? Like that's lame. That's a mediocre life at best. And so this idea of how can we take it and do something with it so that we can better it, which means that we're going to keep pushing forward. That's definitely softened the blows of a lot of this. And I think really helped us when we feel like we've gotten off, pull the other one back in or bring it back together so that it reminds us of, we got a purpose here that we've both dedicated ourselves to. Let's get back to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know that if you, when you get to that place, you'll definitely be in a position to help a lot of people that have gone through similar stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cassie is a blog writer, and she was writing blogs well before she got pregnant with Bodhi, and was writing blogs and also leading workshops and whatnot. So, most, if not all of our clients knew along the way. It's definitely now.
I was pregnant.
Yeah, well, obviously that you're pregnant.
I'm sorry, I knew what?
Knew that we lost Bodhi, lost our son, and had miscarriages and whatnot. Through the grapevine and all that kind of stuff, they heard. So there's been a lot of people that we have heard that have gone through stuff like that we wouldn't have known before.
Right.
That because she was open about what she was processing and where she was and how she didn't want to wake up on days and didn't want to continue to do stuff and wasn't sure what she wanted to do with her career anymore, and processing through that and figuring all that out. Clients that we've known for 5, 10, 20 years that came in and said like, oh, I went through this too, and that helped me in something that I went through 20 years ago. And so and the blog that she's written with people that have now read her stuff and listened to her stuff that we don't even know. So yeah, Cassie is so open with where she is and what she is processing on. There's nothing that's really off, like that's done behind the scenes or off stage. She processes, and then it's like, you have a conversation with me. Okay, here it is. This is what it is. And because of that, I think it really helps people see like, oh wow, we're not alone in this. Like the world is suffering. You know, when Buddha said life is suffering. So why don't we talk about it a little bit so that we can all figure out how to get through it and something better. And Cassie does a great job with that.
Yeah.
What a big change from Cassie 1.0, who was like, I'm not talking about my feelings.
I might share my feelings. So like,
totally.
Let me just put it out there for everyone to see. Yeah, Sam, it's like what you said about that thick wall, that just on the other side of that wall is peace. Just on the other side of the willingness to allow anything to happen in my life is this overwhelming sense of peace. And to me, life feels like this big obstacle course that we're all on, an individual obstacle course. And we're constantly working out these struggles, challenges, obstacles, joys, all the things. And the more that we share our path with each other, I think it helps us understand our own, because it's different, but there's similar qualities to it. So I know when I'm sitting in a workshop, I get so much out of hearing somebody else share, because they're not talking about me or my situation, but it helps clarify my situation. And so those perspectives are always so helpful. I think that's why we love reading people's stories. We love documentaries. We love knowing what's going on at, reality TV or whatever, it's like, we want to see what's happening in each other's lives, because it helps us understand our own. Right?
Yeah, it's sort of what you guys were saying, where almost everybody you meet, if you look hard enough, there's a reflection of yourself there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. And vice versa. Right. So whatever it is that's going on inside of me is there for you. Why wouldn't I share?
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
I think the only times I don't share is if I know that the other person's just not ready for it. So
yeah.
Well, that's
how you, it's pretty arrogant of you, Paddy, but I appreciate your
I'm like, when do you do that?
Like, oh, you're not ready.
You're not ready.
Share another time.
Who knows, right? Just like I knew not to share my feelings, because there's nothing to do about it, right?
Remember,
Paddy and I were on the same page.
Queen of the universe.
The two queens.
Who knows?
Right. That's right. Awesome. So what's the name of your blog?
Oh, this is This is not my strong suit, everybody. So I just write and post on Facebook. I don't have a blog per se, because I don't know how to do stuff like that. If somebody wanted to take my writing and put it somewhere, I would love that, but that's not my strong suit. So I just post my stuff on my Facebook page. It's the only way.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And so I think it's a public page. It's Cassie Crow. You can find it, and yeah.
Awesome. That's just as good as a blog, really. I mean,
yeah, right.
And now this, like, we kind of like to give people a time for shameless self-promotion. I feel like it's a little premature because I still want to chat, but I mean, we might as well go there because I kind of want to talk about your podcast too, because I thought that sounded so fun.
Oh yeah. Okay, so my Facebook is Cassie Crow. My Instagram is A Conscious Girl. And I believe I used to have a blog, A Conscious Girl, and that stuff is all still up on Tumblr and Blogspot. And then I have a podcast with a girlfriend called Conscious Girls Drink Champagne. And that is all about celebrating everything in life. That's like what champagne represents, is like, let's celebrate and cheers to this life, no matter what happens, no matter how, like divorce,
The
child
good,
loss,
the bad, the ugly.
all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, the mundane, everything. And so my girlfriend has an amazing sense of humor. She brings out a much lighter side of me. And so we laugh about life and celebrate it and look at what we can learn from it. So
you drink a bottle of champagne during the podcast? This is genius. Come on.
We encourage everybody else to drink a bottle
Whilst listening.
whilst listening. I think we have had champagne during
Maybe
it.
you've had one.
Yeah, probably.
We did one podcast that way where we just put a bottle of champagne on the table and started through it. It was one about sex, so it made it better.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we were both like, should we talk about this? Yeah, why not?
Loosen up.
Like, little liquid courage. Talk about whatever we want.
Totally. Get the bubbles going, get the juices flowing. Let's talk about
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and then Lindon and I work for a company, Productive Learning. You can find us at productivelearning.com. And we host workshops in both Northern California and Southern California. And then those people who join us in those workshops, we also offer trips all over the world. So we're going to Africa, we're going to Iceland, Hawaii, Ojai, all over the place. So that's our work. Yeah.
How awesome is that?
What is Ojai? That's the second time I've heard that. What is that?
Okay, so Ojai is a beautiful community east of Santa Barbara. Yeah, it's in the mountains just east of Santa Barbara. It's this beautiful valley that looks at these gorgeous mountains, and so it's a beautiful place to have a retreat.
Okay, cool.
So
we've done some retreats on our side. We used to do couples retreats, but that's kind of on the shelf for now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because she's not ready, and you just didn't want to bring it up.
Most of the other couples that we invited weren't ready. Like, yeah. So. You got any more questions, babe? What do you got? Give us a good one. You've been just dancing around lobbing softballs.
I don't think I have. It's like I have a lot. I don't know. I can't think of any like, I feel like we kind of went deep, and now I'm like, oh, that's, I don't know. I don't have any. Do you have any other ones? We usually talk a little bit more about what questions we're gonna ask when we're together.
Our shit is
This was a clusterfuck morning.
Far away from together right now.
That happened.
But thank you guys both so much for opening up, being vulnerable, and sharing your story, though. It's awesome.
Well, and I like what you guys said about it. It's not it's just like all the things in life. It's not like anything that happens to you is ever really, the event is over, but all those things you carry with you. And I think you're always kind of, it's a journey, right? So, and as you're saying, like, so you guys are still thinking you're wanting to have more kids, or you're going to try, like, I guess that is kind of a hard ball, right? Like what's what's going to happen? And then if the answer is we don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
we both still have a dream and want.
Yeah.
And the way that I was thinking about it this morning, talking with a client, our want is, if we talked about like watts of energy, our want is 100%, and for a while the fear around it has also been at 100, and so it's just kind of
washed out.
And so we didn't move for a while, for the last year. And it seems like, as you said, the last 6 months, the last month, even the last couple of weeks, it's gotten to 100 watts of yes, and now it's 97 watts of no. So hey, I think we're like moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
We're feeling good about ourselves and ready to go play the roulette wheel. Is kind of what it is to me, is really what this seems like. For other people, it's like, oh, get pregnant, have a baby, get pregnant, have a baby. It's like, that's not a roulette wheel. That's like just a cashing a check. This is like a roulette wheel in our experience so far. So both of us wanting, but there's still that something that needs to hold on, that I feel like it needs to get a little bit more solid regarding being okay with what happens.
Yeah, I would say that my focus has shifted. So I'm not necessarily interested in being pregnant and having a baby, which was my focus, right? When Lindon and I first got pregnant, it was like, we're gonna get pregnant, we're gonna have a baby, this is gonna happen. And then after we lost Bodhi, it was like, okay, I'm gonna gear up, we're gonna do this again. And then after this third miscarriage and this pause button, it was like, oh, hey, I have a husband. We have a relationship. I kind of forgot about you. You became this tool that I was using to get pregnant, to have a baby, right?
I've heard that from other people struggling with this very thing. Like, you kind of see each other as like these,
means to an end.
Means to an end, yeah.
Yeah, and that was not what I wanted. And so my focus has shifted to, let me have the greatest relationship with Lindon that I can possibly have. Let me turn my focus towards Lindon and give us and our love and romance and all the things that kind of went on the back burner when we were going through our trauma and our grief. Like, we didn't go on dates. We weren't like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't. That wasn't the priority at the time. And I think that was wise of us to not try to manipulate ourselves into having a romantic relationship. But now, after this time, it seems like, no, this is the time. Let's focus on us. Let's focus on our relationship. Let's
and like, what does that look like for you guys?
Who are we? And I think when we can focus there, that's the best use of our energy. And if we happen to get pregnant and have a baby, yay. And if we don't, okay, we'll deal with that, and we'll keep making, like I keep saying this in my head, we're going to make happily ever after the practice. It's not like happily ever after is the period. It's happily ever after ellipses. Let's keep practicing getting to happily ever after. Oh, and then this. Okay, and now let's get to happily ever after here, and keep that alive and keep that going. And that feels like
I think you're spot on. You're on the absolute right track, because if you focus on each other in your relationship and building that intimacy and strengthening it and just having an incredible relationship, I mean, the sex is going to happen, and like you said, you're either going to get pregnant or you're not, but your relationship's going to be awesome. Whereas if you put all that pressure on yourself, okay, it's the right time, we need to go have sex right now, and your swimmers better be at full speed, and I got to go stand on my head, and all that other shit that it just puts so much more pressure on it,
Totally. Yeah,
and what we talked about too when we were getting pregnant with Bodhi was that from my side, I wanted us to be the most solid thing, and then we were going to be parents. It was kind of in that priority. Cassie and I have to be good, and then we'll be good parents because we are good. If we're not good, then our parenting can only get up to so high.
Right.
because the kids are learning from just watching. They're just in the environment of, so you can say like you're doing good disciplining and good treating and all that kind of stuff, but if the relationship isn't good, then they're not getting everything that they possibly could. They're not getting the greatest I think lessons for them to grow up and have a great life. And we talked about that a lot when we were getting pregnant with Bodhi, and I think that was lost and forgotten with, like you said, all the trauma
we
and
had
grief.
we had other things that we had to take care of.
Right. And now it's like, oh, we talked about this 2+ years ago.
Yeah.
We should get back to that, because
That's a
that
good
made
idea.
us really good. That made it so that we could probably the way that we went through losing our son and the miscarriages, which, I've talked about this with Cassie and with other people. This is something that I wish upon nobody. And as you are now understanding, we do a lot of work on ourselves, and I don't know how people that don't do work on themselves get through stuff like this.
Yeah. They probably don't.
Alcohol.
Yeah, right. And
I mean,
The divorce rate's 58% or something. I mean, they don't get through it.
Right. Yeah. Divorce is that, and then I believe it's even higher for people that have
For couples that have had a stillborn, it's 80% divorce rate.
or infant loss. Yeah, because they don't have the tools and whatnot.
I get it. I really get it.
Totally get it.
Absolutely.
So now I think what Cassie's saying, I'm essentially just repeating, but it's, let's go be good on us. Let's go get us on a solid foundation where we freaking win the lottery, fantastic, or we lose another one, okay, here we go, but we are solid. Yeah. The ground is stable. Let's walk forward, and that's really how we're doing it. And what does that mean for us? I think is what you asked. We, as much as we are writers of workshops and leaders of workshops among many in our organization, we go and take workshops from other organizations.
Absolutely.
We're signing different webinars on sex, where we had to cancel one that we were going to go to because the timing didn't work out, but we're going to other people's stuff because I have a firm belief, and I think Cassie does too. It's like, this life is not something to get through on your own. Like, put all the structure and support and things around you, so that when you just tilt her off center a little bit, like there's people to push you back on that side or pull you back on this side, and go put it around you. It's not just one therapist that you see once a month. It's go to the therapist, go to the workshop, do the seminar, listen to your podcast, get a coach. Do it, and then surround yourself with really cool, fun, intelligent people from different facets. Not just like stuff that we're into in the emotional intelligence, but do it in regards to finances and business and relationship and EQ and parenting and spirituality, and put it all around you. And so that's what we do is say, oh, here's an area of our life that we want to go work on. Boom, let's go invest the time and money and figure out how we can go do that. And that's really what we're doing on our relationship. So like I said, it's sex, it's communication, it's just like intimacy in regards to just being together.
It seems like you're both doing a lot of work on yourselves as individuals too. Like, I mean, it's part of your work, right? Not just your work as a human, but your work that you have to be pretty self-reflective and.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think when you get into the industry that we're in the personal and professional growth world, if you don't have a natural desire to continuously learn, like about yourself, to look at yourself. To look at yourself. I have a personal, like, what are you doing here? Like, like, you're gonna go preach and bring up that you should continuously push and grow, and you're sitting there and not doing that. That's
feels hypocritical.
It's hypocritical. And so we have a both of us are constantly reading and taking workshops and learning because we're just that interested. Because we're both how much better can we make it attitude.
Well, plus, no matter how many workshops, no matter how much we learn, we still never get to, even, at least I can't, I haven't gotten within, I've gotten maybe 3 or 4 epiphanies in my life, just rock solid, undoubted epiphany. I know this to be true, but I'm still, on a couple of them, still maybe at 35% as far as, you know what I mean? I know what am I doing? I had an epiphany about this 20 years ago and I'm doing the same fucking thing.
The practice, man. It's like, I love this. You know, we're limited, infinite beings. There's so much, you know, like I love the idea, like space is the final frontier, but it's the internal space. And there's so much there to explore. So I kind of have a different opinion than Lyndon. Like if you're not doing the work, it's like, I don't know, maybe you got to where you got to. There's so much inside of us to explore and to understand. You're never done. And those insights, they take as long as they take to incorporate into your system, right? Like they just take as long as they take to integrate. And I think giving them the time and space that they need to get into who you are, okay, so be it. Here we go, right? If I'm really going to allow anything to happen in my life, then bringing these insights into my understanding is going to take how long it takes. And I'm not going to rush it or push it or try to make it more or better. And, you know, all that control stuff we're all dealing with. So.
You mean hacks?
Hacks? Oh yeah, all the hacks. Yeah.
I read something about that the other day. I was reading about floating. Have you ever done that where you float in the
sensory deprivation? Yeah.
They call it lucid dreaming or something that you do while you're in there. And then the next article I read was how to lucid dream faster. And I'm like, what the fuck?
You know what's funny? You brought that up because I had a lucid dream like early this morning.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, everybody, I'm going to be flying around any second now. But then I couldn't make it happen. Dang it. I had no control. I just had to allow myself to not float. No, it is. Did you know you're dreaming?
They call it narcotics.
No, I didn't have any. I was not taking any drugs. I've done that too, but that was not this morning.
Okay.
Well, you guys, thank you so much for being on. Did you have anything else you want to share that you need to say that you want to ask?
Well, like Cassie already said, it'd be great if people wanted to go and learn a little bit more about productive learning. Just go into productivelearning.com. That you can go and explore, and there's all kinds of workshops and stuff that people can step into.
What's your favorite? Like, what's probably one of the best introductory workshops where somebody could go and kind of get a full immersion without spending 7 days, but come away with a really good idea, and then what would be their key takeaways? I mean, everybody would be different, but
yeah, for everyone, yeah, good point. For everyone, it's going to be different. The workshop, I would say, is called Beyond Reasons, and the idea is that we want to move beyond our reasons for why life is the way it is. So if there's anything that's showing up in my life that's less than ideal, how is it that I'm approaching it that is continuing to create it the way I don't want it to be, right? And so the idea behind Beyond Reasons is there's a good reason that I'm acting the way I'm acting. The whole idea of self-sabotage is an illusion. We are always serving ourselves. We're just not aware of what inside of us we're serving. So although it might be less than ideal, consciously, unconsciously, it's desired. So if I can understand what it is inside of me that it wants it that way, then I can have the right conversation with myself so that I can make a choice to make it what I consciously desire. Right. And so everybody would walk out of that workshop understanding in that less than ideal situation, what is it that I am assuming or bringing to that situation that is contributing to the way it is.
Okay.
Right. And that's hopefully that answers your question. And
how long is that workshop?
Say it again.
How long is that workshop?
It's 2 days. It's a Saturday and Sunday. And like you said, it's an immersion. So you're really getting into the experience in that workshop. And we'd be happy to offer it to anybody who's listening for $295. So if you go to our website and you look up Beyond Reasons, you can click on it, register for it using the code BR295, all caps, no spaces, BR295, and you can have the discounted price to try that out.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow, thank you so much. That's a beautiful.
Are they gonna give us longer than 3 minutes for lunch, or do we got to run out and tell everybody?
Why would you get lunch?
No, 3 minutes.
Lunch.
No eating.
This is a fast version.
I don't know what he's saying is. So yeah, no, plenty of time for lunch.
Okay.
And how long are your trips? Do you go for an extended period of time on those?
They're all different. So after Beyond Reasons, we've got all kinds of different workshops. There's year-long workshops that meet on a once-a-month basis for an entire year. There's workshops that are just 2 days or 1 days. There's 3-day retreats that are up and down California, 5 days that are like in Hawaii and around
Sedona.
typically, Sedona, Utah. We go 5 days. And then some of our big international ones, like the ones Cassie was saying, we just got back from Ecuador, or the company did. There's I think 15 clients did from Ecuador this year, Africa next year, Iceland the year after. Those longer international ones, they're still all local people that are taking workshops. They just want to go on a bigger trip. Those ones are typically 10 to 10, 12, 13 days. You get to go and immerse yourself, and you're doing a workshop, and we just incorporate the location and the environment and the ambiance or whatever's there with whatever the content of the workshop is. So in Africa, we're going on a safari, and you're going to be going and seeing, the lions and tigers and bears, oh my. And it's about what else is life. I think that one's a spirit of adventure.
Yeah. So how do we cultivate the spirit of adventure in everything we do? Because everything is adventure. We don't know what's going to happen. So it is an adventure. What better place to cultivate that understanding than with Africa
on an adventure
in this safari, in this place where we don't know, and animals are going to do what they're going to do. And so, it's just,
it's huge. I mean, you're having these breakthroughs on one side, and then you mix in shared experience and shared adventure. And I mean, that shit lasts a lifetime.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. We want to make it unforgettable, and that's, and really redundantly wire it into the system, because that's the way it went in. Our conditioning didn't happen because of mental understanding. Our conditioning happened because we had experiences that were emotionally profound as children, and that was wired into our body through experience, through emotion and intellectual understanding. So we want to recreate that same conditioning, but use it consciously to our benefit, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of what we choose, rather than reacting to the environment we grew up in, right? So
yeah, we kind of talk ourselves out of that over the years. We have the experiences when we're young, and we're more open to these experiences because we don't know anything. And then we start thinking that we're pretty smart, and we start telling ourselves all these different stories and what we will and won't learn if we go try something. And yeah, I get it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you do. That's great. Yeah. And so the thing that I would like to express is I really appreciate the not so perfect couple. Like I really love that we are embracing the not so perfect couple, because I've not met a perfect couple yet.
And they don't exist. It's like meeting a perfect person. There isn't such a thing.
There is not a thing. And so how great to embrace that and appreciate that and explore that, because it's not perfect, and that's the point. Right?
Perfectly imperfect.
Perfectly imperfect. It's so perfect how imperfect it is. And what a fun playground to play in with a partner that also says, yeah, this shit is not perfect. Let's get into that. Play around with that. Like I appreciate the playfulness of this.
Well, the whole thing is just funny. Like, we've said before, and I had Sam backing off of it, but then I started thinking why. But we used to say, we're one of the happiest couples we know, but happiness is a choice, it's a decision. And for somebody to look at you and say, well, I don't think they're that happy. It's like, oh, well, you can judge all you want, but judging's not good either. So anyway,
I still say that.
Who's happy, who cares? But basically at the end of the day, nobody is perfect in any way, shape, or form. So, and I love that. Embrace the imperfection. That's the best part.
This is life, man. Like, this is it. This is as perfect as it gets. So let's play with it.
Let's play.
Exactly. And sometimes the funniest moments of my entire day are when I do a complete dumbass move. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that.
I love that. So real. It's just so real. Yeah.
So real. Well, thank you guys. We really appreciate you taking the time to come and share your story and talk to us about what you know. And just thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you for letting us be the guinea pigs on this different state podcast first time, making it happen. That's cool. We appreciate it.
I love it. I think our editor is going to be pissed. But
Yeah, I think our editor is going to be pissed, but he'll be okay. He'll
I have
survive.
to mess with the volume multiple times on the whole thing, but whatever.
It's all good. Thank you guys so much.
Some extra loving juju to your editor.
Yeah. Bye. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
Thanks, Justin.